dodging like strays. Climbing out the gutter, iron will like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sync with the.
All right. We are here with our first episode of the Kings Effect podcast. I have my very first guest with me, Jeremy. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll get the conversation started about like navigating life as a Black man.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you having me on the show, man. My name is Jeremy English. Don't forget the comma PHR. So okay. Well, and let me explain what that even means. PHR means professional in human resources, and so like I guess that's a good segue into kind of like who I am. So I'm an HR professional. I've been in human resources for almost 13 years. I outside of HR, I also do a lot of work in mental health. I created a national holiday by the name of National Black Men's Mental Health Day, which is celebrated on July 18th of every year. So get into it. And then also outside of that, I also do a lot of work in entertainment. So I'm an actor, singer, writer, director, producer, which I also have a show that's kind of like a podcast called The Crib, which is THA Crib. But yeah, and I didn't say where I'm from. I'm from Dallas, Texas, born and raised, and I'm actually still in Dallas as we speak.
All right. Well, I thank you for coming on the show. I hope this be a good conversation, dialogue between us. So I'm just going to get the conversation started here on navigating as a Black man in America. It's really hard. A lot of my friends, they're not really happy in this life. Just based on conversation that I had with some of my ex-friends or some of my current friends, they really going through it. Some friends are really homeless. Some friends are going through it with their, significant others, toxic work environments. And, as a Black man, the system is already against us, and it's kind of hard to see other people really struggling and not knowing what they want out of this life. Because at one point, I didn't know if I was going to even graduate college, just because, I wasn't really good in school like that. I was not a straight A student. I really had no direction in my life. But then I kind of like turned it around and kind of got serious, when I was in high school, about to get ready to graduate, because, you wanted to get your diploma and all of that. And you want to see yourself do well. At least I know I wanted to. I didn't want to end up as another statistic, robbing, stealing, killing, stuff like that. And I see so much negative news on the media of Black men. I don't know if you ever heard about this. One boy, he just shot up the whole school. He had a lot of mental issues and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that kind of brings me into my first question that I wanted to say. Why do you think it's a lot of mental health issues in the Black community specifically?
Oh man, that is such a loaded question. In all honesty, I really, really think that it's generational. So if we want to go back to our parents' generation, our parents' parents' generation, they parents, I mean, that has not been a topic of discussion. It hasn't been something that we've placed emphasis on, like as a community, as Black people. And we just kind of have been programmed to just like push through life, like whatever that means for you, you just push through. And we're not taking care of ourselves mentally to be able to push through. And the sad thing is, because like I said, with each generation, that is just the way of life. But life has continuously gotten more challenging. Like, I mean, there's so many uncertainties with this election that just happened. And the economy is like, completely out of whack. People can't even afford to go to the grocery store. But we haven't had the right tools given to us from our parents and our grandparents, our great grandparents, to be able to navigate even when life was a little simpler, like in the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that. And so because that never really took place, I think that's really the foundation of why I think we're struggling so much more as a community when it comes to our mental health.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
you grew up in our generation, I'm assuming you late 30s, early 40s, but
Yeah,
if you grew up in a time where we didn't really talk about mental health, mental illnesses rather,
right,
and all of the stigma that comes with that, like, boy, you better not talk about you got,
right,
problems and stuff like that.
right.
And so that kind of perpetuate the stigma of like not getting the help that we needed when we needed it.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
I just think that it's an old mentality that you're soft if you go and get help and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But for me, I've been through a lot of counseling,
Mhm.
and so I know firsthand that it's changed my life. Um, and when I talked to my counselor, I really opened up and got a lot of perspective about myself. Like, why was I in a lot of toxic friendships? Why was I in a lot of bad relationships and stuff like that? So it kind of like opens up all of those open wounds that's not healed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you have to really dissect each layer of your life. Cut out all of the people that might not be good for you in your life. Get rid of, try to go into another good work environment if you can. As far as dating life, not getting with a partner that's going to fulfill you and love you for you all, and not just take advantage of you. So it kind
Yeah.
of like opens up all of those things that people don't, that I didn't really want to talk about, because when I was like young, they was like, I think you need to go to the counselor. I'm like, counseling? I don't need no counseling.
Yep.
That's just that black mentality to
Yep.
say that, somebody's gonna make fun of you if you go to counseling, or you something's wrong with you. But in fact,
Yeah.
that's gonna help you, because when you look at statistics today, a lot of black men are killing themselves because
Oh
they
yeah.
don't want to open up and they don't want to have the conversation that need to be had. And I
Yeah.
think it also goes back to the parenting, you know, 'cause I didn't grow up with a lot of father figures, and I didn't grow up with a lot of father figures at all. In fact, it's a whole nother conversation I'm gonna have to run.
No, I
But
get it.
he was not the best father. He was
Yeah.
worse. He did a lot of toxic things to me, my mom, and my sister, and it just is not a really good, healthy environment for me to live in. And we had to. I was scared of my father. Like, he never showed me love. He never showed me any compassion. He never supported my ambitions or my dreams or anything like that. So, of course, when you have, I see a lot of people saying that when you have like broken homes and you don't know how to get the help that you need, then black men, they grow up angry. Synonymous to like black women angry too.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that father figure and you don't have friends that you can rely on, when you feel like you can't trust no one, then you go into the world and you start being bitter and you start taking out your anger on other people.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me into my next question. I wanted to talk about, like, how is some, like, what is some of your friend dynamics that kind of help you to support each other in terms of mental health? Like, what are some of the things that you see your friends doing differently than how you probably was raised today? You know?
Yeah, so I'm also in therapy myself. So I definitely like to practice what I preach. But actually one of the homies, a really good friend of mine that we actually became friends over the past few years. You know what's crazy? Like I used to always think like making friends, new friends in my 30s, just back when I was younger, I'm like, that sounds weird. But I've made some like really, really like dope, really genuine friendships, or fostered some really, really dope friendships with guys and women in my 30s. But anyway, I was actually having some stuff going on mentally myself. And this was around the time when I was starting my work with there's a platform that I'm an instructor through called Mental Health First Aid, where we basically teach how to look for the signs and symptoms of if someone might be experiencing a mental health crisis or a mental health
That work. I like that.
Yeah, and basically what to do whenever you come across it, just giving everybody tools to kind of navigate those types of situations. But anyway, I was just starting with that, and one of the homies, I was kind of opening up to him about some stuff that I had going on in the relationship that I was in at the time, and he recommended me going to therapy. I mean, he was like, nah, you know, of course, like I'll talk with you about it, but like I think that you would benefit from, you know, talking to a licensed professional about this. And that was the first time in my entire life that I had, outside of like a couple of family members, this was the first time one of the homies recommended, okay, bro, I think this will be,
come through, homie.
Yeah, so you know, I have had that, but I think just as we get older, I mean, you should be getting wiser. You shouldn't be doing the same things that you were doing 10 years ago. I think as we
get to the choir again,
right? I think as we continue to navigate through life, this is how you can really have a true indicator of like who really is the homie. When you have those moments like that where somebody they're like, okay, yeah, we can be outside, you know, turning up, having a good time, all of that stuff, but there needs to be a healthy balance of like having men in your life. You know, since we're talking about, you know, the dynamics of Black men, having other Black men in your life that are more than just like, oh, we go outside and have a good time.
Yeah, it's more than just about sports and stuff like that.
Well, and I mean, not even just that, you know what I'm saying? Just like I said, you know, having other men that can keep you on your toes and keep you, it's just like, you know, what the good book, what the Bible tells us about iron sharpening iron. You need to have other iron around you. And once you identify somebody as someone that you can really, really bounce off of and keep you grounded and keep you lifted, that's when you know that you have good people in your life. So, I mean, honestly, that's really like the biggest part for me is like, if we can talk about like more of the like, you know, uncomfortable stuff, like as men, like that's how I know that like it's somebody that I got like in my circle that's like, okay, this is somebody that really rock with me and I rock with them.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up about the homie, you know, wanting to, you know, refer you to that therapy or therapist, because usually Black men, that's the furthest point from their mind.
Oh yeah.
And I just think that if Black people in general would go and get the help that they need and stop thinking about like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with me. Like we are not all above reproach where you can't get the help that you need. You like, I know a lot of my family members. we need all of us need to be in that therapy.
Oh yeah. And honestly,
so dysfunctional.
The thing too about therapy, like it doesn't need to be like the hospital. I mean, it can be, you know, you can go, of course, like when you're experiencing a challenge in your life, but even go to therapy when things are good, just like as maintenance. Like, it's just like, I mean, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And in a lot of cases, they're connected. Like people experiencing physical things like heart attacks and things like that, that starts with stress and things like that are going on mentally. So it's just like, don't wait until something's going wrong to go to the therapist. Just like we have preventive health care for our physical health. Like, you know, people go in for their annual checkups and things like that. Do that with your mental health. It's just as important.
Yeah, that brings up another question that I kind of wanted to ask you. Why do you think Black men specifically are really hesitant to go get their help? I mean, go get, you know, like, you know, physical health and mental health checkups and stuff like that. What do you think, other besides the stigma part of outside society telling us that we're weak and stuff like that, what other factors that can play into that makes them hesitant? You know,
it can be a number of things. There can be, you know, depending on where the person is in their life financially, they may not be able to afford it. Which there are actually some local resources. Well, I mean, I can't speak for every metropolitan area, but I know here in Dallas, we have local resources for people that don't have the, you know, financial stability to be able to go out and find, you know, a therapist of their own. But there are local resources for mental health services and things like that. But I think that can be a factor. I think, again, just going back to upbringing, if, kind of like what you were saying with your relationship with your father. I mean, for those of us that had their father in their life, you know what I'm saying, or to any degree, I mean, that's pretty typical. I won't say that my dad didn't show me love because that would be a lie. But my dad,
somebody showed their love.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I would say my dad is still.
He was the type of hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. If you know anything about Dallas, Texas, one of the hoods of Dallas is Oak Cliff, Texas. My dad is Oak Cliff, Texas till this day, and he had his ways of showing me love, but he had his ways of showing me tough love. And I mean, as I grow older, I mean, of course, like I can look at some of those ways as an adult and just be like, okay, whenever, if God blesses me with a son, like I prefer not to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I
gotta break the cycle, the generational cycle.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But, someone like that and, knowing who my grandfather was and how my dad came up, like, I know that those are the things that affected his mentality. And so with, again, like that generational mentality of just like, nah, man up, you know what I'm saying? Or like, things like that, it's always going to steer you away from seeking the help that you need, even physically as well, but definitely mentally. So those are just a couple that come to mind first. I also think about like even just in today's society, like even like on social media, like just with the masses, there's, I mean, of course, I know the term toxic masculinity, but I think it's even more prevalent with African American men. And you even see it not even just from us amongst each other, but you even see it, unfortunately, come from women. Like a man, especially a black man, can't do nothing before a woman is calling him sassy or, oh, that's risky, and like stuff like that. And it's just like, those are the things that contribute, even though like sometimes it might be all in fun and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it contributes to and it perpetuates the stigma that already exists. So it's just like, those are all things that I think contribute to the fact that we're already an underserved group when it comes to mental health and taking care of our mental. But like when we have all of these factors just within the world, and of course, like I said, going back to generationally, I think that really, really is what, those are reasons why I think black men don't seek out the help that they need.
Okay. Yeah, I just got two more questions here because we're gonna get ready to wrap this up here. We're coming up on time. So I just wanted to know, like, what resources that men can actually, like, do that they don't have to pay for, because we always talk about therapy or psychological therapy or just all the other different types of form of therapy that there is in life that you might have to pay for. But what are some of the things that men don't have to pay for?
Yeah,
so it's going to help them to improve their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't speak on what everybody's faith is, but I mean, a good start always, if you are a man of God like myself, talking to a religious leader is always a really good start. But also a religiously, I mean, of course, like, you use your best judgment, use your own discernment on, whoever you've built a solid relationship with in the church. Because I would say everybody in the church is not a good person to talk to about your mental, but there are some religious leaders that get it, that understand it. So like I said, use your better judgment, but that I always think that that's a really good start. Also utilizing just different, kind of like what we were talking about before, like other people in your life. It doesn't have to be other men, but making sure that you have somebody in your life that you can confide in, that truly has your best interests at heart. That's always going to be a really, really good start. And like I said, just depending on what metropolitan area that you're in, most cities will have, like with the city of Dallas, if you go to the city of Dallas website, there is a list of different mental health services that don't cost money. So, and I do believe that most major metropolitan cities have that. So, and it may not be, you know, as personalized as having your own therapist, but those are still things that you can definitely utilize. Something else that's really, really good for your mental, reading. There are so many self-care books out there that are really, really, and if you're not a reader, I mean, audiobooks have really, really become a thing. Like they're booming right now. So if you don't like to read and you prefer to listen, you know, I think the name of the app is what, Audible, I think. But yeah. So I mean, you know, those are all like really, really good things, that I think that, I mean, of course, like with books, I mean, it technically costs money, but you know, if that's something that you can afford, you know, I would say, you know, purchase a self-care book.
All right. Well, that, and then my last question is, I know it's a lot of men that suffer in silence. So just kind of like some encouragement for them to kind of keep going, because I feel like if we create this community, I'm also going to be starting a Discord for this channel as well too, where any man of, you know, specifically Black men can join if they need, you know, the help, if other people are not giving them the help, in terms of mental health, that encouragement. So what is some resources, not resources, but what is like some encouragement that you can kind of give to Black men to kind of keep going in this life, even when they're down on their luck, nothing's going right, and it's just a hot mess, you know?
Yeah,
what is some encouragement that you can give to them?
Yeah, so I don't want to be cliche, but I mean I have to. I mean, but it really applies. And when I say this, I mean it. You are not alone. Like you really, really aren't. Like this is something that, you know, all of us either are experiencing, especially with the current climate, or have experienced at some point in our lives as Black men in America. You're not alone, and I mean, I myself, I'm in one of the best spaces that I've ever been in my life, and it's been a journey to get here, but the journey was well worth it. And if you are someone that's watching this that is struggling, and you're just, you know, kind of feel like you're just going through life and waiting for that next break, I am here to speak that over your life. That will happen for you. It happened for me at a time where like things were just not making sense. And, you know, I always have to like preface this next part with, you know, I don't want to offend anyone, but I have to say this. As long as you keep God at the center of everything that you do, if you keep that as your foundation, I guarantee you, I mean, we have to have the mentality of what the Bible does say to us. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When you really, really hone in on that scripture as the foundation of your life, whatever life throws at you, you're going to be able to take it on. And I want to speak that verse over every single person that's watching this podcast right now. You can do all things. You really, really can. And even when it doesn't make sense, when you don't even know how, just keep going, but also utilize whatever resources you have, whether it's a close friend, a religious leader, if you're able to have access to therapy, like we were talking about, reading self-care books to kind of keep you in a good space. Do that along the way. But I'm here to tell you that you will be able to make it, and you'll be able to thrive. You won't just make it, you will thrive.
Yes, and we appreciate that, Jeremy. We really do, because there's a lot of men that's going through it right now. Some of my friends, homelessness, can't find a job, the world, and then the president. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But it's just like they really going through it. So we really like to help people to heal when they come on here and leave better than they came.
Absolutely.
So within that, Jeremy, I really appreciate you coming on this talk show. Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
If you ever want to come back on it with my other guy friends, when we have a larger conversation.
Oh yeah,
feel free,
I'm down for it. Just
feel
let me
free
know.
for that. Feel free for that. And we'll keep the conversation going. But
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
We out now.
All right.
See ya.
White, got dodging like strays. Climbing out the gutter, I am real like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink, break the